Whilst we wait for others to join us, I'm going to tell you a little bit about a project that we've been working on. Behind every successful salon are talented people and strong management processes. And today, Loop HR gives you the structure to handle everything from holidays and payroll to target setting and performance goals, as well as inspiring pay structures and more. Our mission is to create great places to work. Our goal is to simplify processes, maximizing performance and saving you, salon manager, hours of admin time. Our newest feature is career progression mapping, and soon you will be able to map out a step-by-step plan that an employee must take to move forward towards their goal. Now that could be strategies to reach financial targets or actionable steps to get a promotion. Ultimately, these are the tools to give your employee sight of an end goal and the pathway to achieve it. Now we're excited for what this new feature can do and how it can help you transform your business. Okay, if you've just joined us, thank you. Right now, I'm going to give you a little introduction to me and Loop HR if you're not familiar with, and if you are, I'm terribly sorry, it'll just take a moment. I'm Ian Egerton. I'm the founder of Loop HR. I'm a former hairdresser. I've managed and owned salons for over 40 years. I've employed and recruited hundreds of hair and beauty professionals in the UK and around the world. I've sat on industry and non-industry boards, charities and government quangos. I've worked directly with salon owners and managers for over 15 years. Between everything I've done, I've seen the most amazing people and business models through to the most bonkers salon pay structures. But what I have learned is that in business, you don't have to be the most inspirational leader, but you do need well-structured processes to support you and your team to keep everything running smoothly. Now, with so many things to manage, there's obviously a lot going on in a salon business. Firstly, you're managing 3 different audiences: the employee, the client, and the government. So to ensure compliance, profits, and a happy team, you need processes with checks and balances to provide a clear pathway and tools that drive the right results. Today's business uses technology to do the heavy lifting. At Loop HR, we ensure that all these moving parts are working for you. This improves employee engagement and ensures your business has the best opportunity to be compliant and profitable. Okay, I think we're ready, so let's dive into part 1, pay increases. Now, when it comes to a salary increase, obviously it's important to prepare everything in advance. Now, typically, the purpose of a pay increase is to compensate employees for their contribution to the business and reflect changes in their role, such as for promotions, recognizing added responsibilities and skills, or it could be to ensure wages remain competitive, and of course, age-related adjustments such as national minimum wage. Of course, if it is national minimum wage, you don't have much option when to implement it, April 1st being the latest opportunity. But this is actually good time, as it's generally in line with a natural upswing in sales. The flip side of that, I'd say January is probably not a great time to increase people's pay, at least from a business point of view. The salons often see a drop in sales at that time of year. Of course, pay increases could be in line with a price increase. And ideally, you would combine all of the elements, increasing both prices and pay at a time that there is natural upswing in your business. A pay increase is an opportunity to refocus and reinforce expectations. If appropriate, you could deliver the news in a one-on-one in-person meeting, clearly explaining the reasons for the increase. Are there new targets? Is training required? If the job title changes, do you need to provide a new job description? Are there any new responsibilities or expectations? Confirm when the new pay rate begins. So use this time to reframe the employee mindset. And once everything has been discussed with the team member, update the employee agreement. Demonstrate how to achieve new targets, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Set a performance review date. Anchor that focus on accountability and set a timeline for achieving specific results. Okay, let's talk numbers. National minimum wage. Having quickly rattled through the whys and hows, now let's look at the pay rates themselves. Today, we have just 4 categories to consider. The government has regularly changed the categories, more specifically, moved the ages around and condensed everything into these 4. So here you can see the current rates and then the new rates coming in April, as well as the increases for each level. And I'm going to show you that in annual pay terms. So here you see a worker aged 21 or older working 40 hours per week, and they'll earn almost £25,500. Apprentices and workers aged 16 to 17 years old will see a significant increase of 18%. But the biggest pay increase, money-wise, is the 18 to 20-year-old category. Their rate increases by over £2,900 per annum. Then, of course, our esteemed leaders of this great country have also made changes to the employer's national insurance contribution, also referred to as NICs. So let's look at the impact these changes could have on your business. There are 3 significant changes to NICs, the impact of which will vary hugely depending on the size of your business. And we're going to discuss in a little more detail on each of these 3 points. So let's look at each point and then do a summary. Employers pay national insurance contributions, and the employee also pays national insurance, but it's only the rate for the employer that will increase in April, from 13.8% to 15%. Next, the secondary threshold drop. This is the level of earnings above which employers must start paying national insurance contributions for their employees. Currently, it's £9,100 per annum, but from April it will drop to £5,000. Now, the impact is that the employer will pay national insurance on an additional £4,100 per employee. Combined with the new rate of pay and the new NICs rate of 15%, this change adds £615 per employee annually to the employer's NICs liability. However, the third point is the increase in employment allowance, which is going up from £5,000 to £10,500 per annum. This will reduce the overall national insurance contribution bill for eligible small businesses, and from conversations that I've had with accountants, the majority of hair and beauty salons will be benefiting from this, as in their business is small enough to do so. Meaning that employers will benefit from the larger NICs offset, which may partially or fully mitigate the cost increases for small businesses. Now, to get a full impact statement for your business, I would ask your accountant for a NICs summary. With that said, let's look at another essential part of salon business, employee targets. Now, it's common in the salon, spa and barber industries for revenue producing employees to be paid a base pay and earn commission and or bonuses. To establish the target threshold is key to both financial success and rewarding the employee fairly for their time, skills, and overall value they bring to the business. The most basic way to calculate a service sales target is to calculate the hourly rate by the hours worked and multiply that by 3 or some other magical number. However, it's not the most efficient, and I'll show you why. Most businesses, as in not salon businesses, would make sales forecasts for the long term. They look at quarters and a year ahead. And in the salon industry, everything we look at is essentially short term. Typically, it's by week or at best by pay period forecasting. Now, as I said, most salon targets are calculated from the weekly pay, then multiply that figure by 3 or such similar. And in Loop HR, we've used that multiple of pay option 2. We know it's a staple in the industry and we built it in right from day one. However, at the time, we didn't have any other way of target setting, and now we do, and we're going to share that with you. But first of all, in this example, I'll use a multiple of 3.1 to find the weekly target, and you can see that £1,514. But that doesn't help with big picture thinking. If your business goal is to turn over 500,000, let's say, you need to know the number of staff required to achieve your goal and identify who is responsible for what level of income. So to get a clearer picture, we'll calculate the basic weekly sales target into an annual target. And we do that by calculating the number of weeks the employee is expected to work, obviously excluding holidays. So you can see, using this basic forecast, we're able to say that the annual target is 70,467. However, as I say, this is a basic way of forecasting sales. So in this next example, I've calculated an annual salary. I multiply the annual salary by the same 3.1 to give me an annual target. And you'll see that there's a difference of almost £8,500 between the basic calculation and the figure calculated from annual pay. And you can see on a weekly basis, the difference is small, but it mounts up and could make the difference between profit and loss. So why calculate the target this way? Well, because the employee is paid for the whole year. They earn holiday pay, holiday commission at an average of the past 52 weeks. We pay pensions, national insurance contributions. We need to protect the business before we can be generous with additional rewards. I would call this annual target better, but not best. And just to be clear on the calculations, here's how I've calculated the annual target. We multiply the weekly pay by 52.143 weeks. Now, let me explain. If you pay team members weekly, bi-weekly, or 4-weekly, this is irrelevant to you. If you pay monthly and calculate somebody's monthly pay from weekly pay multiplied by 52 weeks and divided by 12, then you could run the risk of underpaying a team member if you're paying them national minimum wage. So what I would suggest is that you multiply that weekly figure by 52.143 to give you the annual salary. Now, with that figure in mind, we're going to multiply by, in this case, 3.1 or any multiple that you choose to get the annual figure. And if you wanted to find the weekly target, then you would divide that by the number of weeks worked. So we have 52.143 weeks. We're going to minus 5.6 weeks holiday so that we can see what the average week is going to be. Okay, so that explains the calculation, and that was option 1 and multiple of base pay. We now have option 2, which is the optimum hourly service price, from which we can set the optimum target and the minimum target threshold. The optimum hourly service price is based on the optimum income an employee can generate, considering their pricing level, their skill set, and their hourly pay rate. And now we're going to calculate the optimum hourly service price, and to do that, we're going to look at the top 5 or 6 services that the team member delivers, and then the number of minutes that it takes them to deliver that service. And remember that may not necessarily be what you have on your booking system, but it is important to know how many minutes they deliver the service, the price of the service, and then an average hourly rate, which we'll look at in a moment. And once you've established your average hourly rate, you can then take an average of all of them, which in this case is £64.33. And we're going to use £64 in all our examples today so that everything should make sense. And just to clarify, to find the optimum hourly service price average, then what we do is we divide the price by the minutes. So the price of the service here is £50. We divide that by 45 minutes and we multiply it by 60 minutes to give us the 66.67. Okay, sorry. I'm sure you didn't sign up for a maths lesson today. But to find the weekly target, a little bit more math, you're going to use the optimum hourly service price, in this case £64, and multiply it by the work hours for the week. And you're going to deduct the VAT to find the net optimum service income for the week. In this case, 2,133. And we saw earlier when we calculated the weekly target from annual pay. The weekly target worked out at 1,696. Now the minimum target threshold is very similar. This is not always the case when we do this exercise. However, the main difference that I want to highlight is the language on how the employee perceives their target. So you'll either say your target is 3 times your wage, or you could say, at your pricing level, the optimum income we'd expect is £64 per hour. However, we know that you may not achieve your optimum goal each hour, so we've set a minimum target threshold, which you must achieve before bonuses are paid. And that is £51.20 per hour, or you can use the weekly figures, whatever is best for you and in the language that you prefer to use. This is crystal clear to the employee. They hear a minimum level of performance. I think at this point, your job is then to help the employee achieve their financial target, that minimum target threshold. And we'll talk about how to do that in a moment. And once somebody is regularly achieving their minimum target threshold, you shift your focus to the optimum target. Now, the optimum target is a level of performance where the employee would receive additional bonuses and career growth opportunities. And you'd say something to the effect, at your pricing level, this is the optimum we expect you to perform financially. Of course, you will be able to exceed this income by upselling and working smart. But at that level, you will earn additional bonuses and be working towards your XYZ, whatever it is that they are working towards. So the way that you present your goals, targets, and KPIs to your team is critical to them being able to translate what they have to do to fulfill their financial goals. But first, you need to be clear on how you want to set your targets. And as I say, in my experience, the minimum target threshold speaks volumes. Here's a reminder of the 3 methods I've shared with you today: the basic, better, and best. Remember, the objective is for the target to firstly protect the business before paying additional funds or additional payments to your team member. And in a moment, I will show you how quickly and easily you can set targets using Loop HR. But first, let's look at goal setting. I recently wrote an article about goals, targets, and KPIs, which, if you're interested to learn more about how to communicate goals, targets, and KPIs to your team, you can go to our website and click on the blogs page. You'll find this blog called "What's the Difference Between a Goal, Target, and KPI?" Okay, so we're going to start with a big goal. Let's assume that it's a financial goal. And in this example, you have 6 employees. They each have a target, which together will reach your goal. Now, to help your employees achieve their individual targets, they may have KPIs, or key performance indicators. These KPIs would be specific to their job role or to their position in the business, as not all KPIs work the same way for everyone. And here you see a list of KPIs. Now, there's nothing exceptional about them. Some are generated from your point of sale system, and others require external tracking. Individually, they're okay, but the power comes when you group them into categories. These groups should make sense to the employee, helping them better understand and track their own performance. So in our example, what we've done is we've put together rebooking rates, client care, new client retention into a client care group. Within Loop HR, we've created these groups already for you with examples such as these two. I think we have 4 in total. So client care, rebooking rates, client retention, new client retention. If a team member is particularly good at 2 of them and not so good at the other one, then particularly new client retention, that tends to be the bugbear, the bit where people get a little bit hung up or stuck. If you've grouped them together and there's one element stopping them achieving their client care goal, then potentially that gives you the vehicle to be able to educate the team member. Then we have accelerate. This is about growing client base more rapidly. So we go for client referrals, social media content, 4-5-star Google reviews. Again, these are off your point of sale system, but they are things that are quite well. Referrals should be within your point of sale, but the other 2 would be external. And whilst a bit of a challenge to manage, what we have found in Loop is that if we give the team member the responsibility of tracking these things, they have to give you evidence to say that they've achieved these things, but we find that this is a great tool to enable team members to demonstrate the work that they're doing, and as a manager it just gives you the opportunity to sign stuff off. Okay, so they are KPIs, and we've seen a range of ideas on targets, KPIs, and we've looked at 3 different ways to calculate targets. We saw the different national minimum wage pay rates, and now I'll show you how to manage pay increases and set targets using Loop HR. It will take less than a minute to update the pay rate and set a new target, including forecasting sales by the hour, day, week, and pay period and year. It is all instant. So give me a moment. I will check it out here. So here we are in the employee remuneration page within Loop HR. And you can see that their current hourly rate is $11.44. And what we're going to do is we're going to increase that rate to the new national minimum wage. So we go here, we go edit salary package, go continue. We're not going to change anything else, just the hourly rate. Okay, now you can see that the rates for the whole year have changed. There's nothing for you to work out or think about. We're not changing the pay structure, but we are going to change the optimum gross hourly service sales target for the team member. Currently it's set at £61 per hour. We're going to change that to 64 per hour. And you may have noticed that all of these figures changed instantly, and that is because the system has worked out the optimum target and worked backwards to work out a minimum target threshold. Okay, you can click across the different targets and you select your own minimum target threshold. However, the system will default to 80%, and you can see here that a weekly target comes in at 1706.56, and which is the same as the example that we saw earlier. So we accept the minimum target threshold, and we can see the cost right here. We can see that if the team member was to bring in the optimum amount of sales, their weekly figure would be 2,133. So we continue. We're not going to look at benchmarks. So here we have the bonuses. These are the drivers, the things, the tools that we use to help the team member focus on achieving their goal. This is the rewards they get for achieving their goal. So the personal bonus will be £220 at their old rate. We're going to increase that to $250, and we're going to increase their super bonus to $250. And you can see, if you corner of eye, you may have spotted that these costs increased marginally. So we have a personal bonus. Instead of using commission to incentivize somebody to push for their sales, what we're saying is achieve your minimum target threshold and we will pay you £250. Now remember, these figures vary depending on the team member, their base pay, the hours they work. Now, this is just an example, so don't get too hung up on the numbers. However, £250 is an exciting amount of money that the team member is likely to be willing to focus and work towards achieving. And we're showing with a minimum target threshold, if they achieve it and we pay that bonus, that your costs remain at an affordable rate. But again, you can move the target or move the bonus to make figures whatever it is that you want them to be. Okay, so we will move on to retail, which we're not going to look at, and essentially you get a summary of the salary package. We complete, we update, and now we can see that the team member has the new national minimum wage rate. Everything has been updated as you would expect. And then we come down, we can see their minimum target threshold for the average month. The optimum target has been set also. And then we have their personal performance and super bonuses, their benchmarks, their retail. And I said earlier about being able to ensure that costs are covered. So we have this tool here that helps us establish when somebody achieves their goal, what happens when they're underperforming. And we can toggle this little switch and we can display costs. And we can see that once somebody's achieving 80% of their goal, then they are costing you 35-36%. As they continue to bring in revenue, these costs drop. At the point that they achieve their minimum target threshold for the pay period, they're paid their £250 personal bonus, and their pay increases accordingly, and your costs are well managed. So the same for all of the other bonuses, your performance bonus, your super bonus, they kick in at various levels of performance and your costs are well managed. Obviously, all of this will depend very much indeed on the hours that somebody is working, with their setup within Loop, and this particular example is 40 hours per week, and the targets are based on £64 per hour. And that is it for our demonstration of the pay structure. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And just to close, to say a massive thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate you being here. If you have any questions, then please let me know. You're very welcome to send those questions through to us. You can email, you can use live chat on the website. If you're interested to book a discovery call with us, you can do that via our website, loophr.com, and you'll find plenty of links there to book a discovery call. So once again, thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.